Or do you feel that community is not so important? Like everyone just live their own life and do their own thing?
I think people should do both. They should be part of a community, but still, do their own thing.
Well, obviously do your own thing, but I think do you feel it's important to be part of a community? Do you feel it's
Yes.
important to be a member?
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
At
and
least for
anyone here feel more or less part of a community? Anyone feel like they're not part of the community, or does anyone feel that they're extremely, very into, very part of a community? No, no, no
Mhm.
comments. Okay.
I feel like I'm
You feel like you're part of it. Good.
Mhm. The Jewish community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh,
Especially now, right? Yep. Okay. So today and this week's, which actually is a double parsha this week, Netzavim Vayelech. And in this week's parsha, we actually learn about the last mitzvah. Now, what do I mean by the last mitzvah? Is that it's the last mitzvah that's written in the Torah before Moshe passes away. So it's the last mitzvah that's in the Torah, that's written. Okay, so all the 613 mitzvahs are somewhere in the Torah, and this is the last, the last one before the Torah finishes. Because so we only have one parsha, we have two more parshas after this parsha, huh?
What is the mitzvah, this
That's
last
what we're gonna
mitzvah?
discuss right now. Let's
Okay,
see.
we're going to learn it.
And that is to write a Sefer Torah. And the words in the pasuk are text number 1. Anyone want to read? You have on the right page? Page
Uh,
130.
I'll
Okay,
read it
Shelley, I
unless
guess you
you.
could go for it.
Okay. And now write for yourselves this song and teach it to the children of Israel. Place it into their mouths in order that this song will be for me as a witness for the children of Israel.
Okay, so what does a song mean? Write for yourselves the song. Um, that song means AKA Torah, the Torah. Okay. Let's see. Text number 2. Thought you want to do it?
Sure.
Thanks.
It's clear that song here means the entire Torah, as the verse states just below. And it was when Moses finished writing the words of this Torah is a scroll until their very completion. This indicates that this song includes the entire Torah with the song of Ha'azinu as well. Further indication that it's the entire Torah in the verse. Take the Torah scroll, place it alongside the Ark of the Covenant of God.
Okay. And how do we know how many mitzvahs are in the Torah and that this is one of them? So the Rambam Maimonides codified the mitzvahs of the Torah. He figured out what are considered the 613 mitzvahs, and he considers this as one of the 613 mitzvahs to write a Torah scroll. So we're going to read inside of Maimonides Rambam and see what that is. And okay, and then we'll discuss what. Okay, yeah, this is the actual mitzvah from Maimonides from Rambam. Want to do it, Carrie?
God commanded that everyone should write a Torah scroll for themselves. And if they write it with their hand, scripture credits it to them as if they received it at Mount Sinai. But if it is impossible for them to write it, they should buy it or hire someone to write it for them. This is the meaning of the verse, write for yourselves this song.
Okay, so the main mitzvah is to write your own Torah. Okay, now the Rambam says, hey, if you can't, if you don't know how or something like that, you can hire a scribe, and they know the laws, they know how to write it, they know what the right scripts, font, whatever it is, and they can do it for you. Usually, if someone commissions someone to write a Torah, it takes like a year to write. Um, and not just that, but it costs a lot of money to write a Torah. To get a new Torah, it costs a lot of money. So who here, that's Sylvia? Who here has their own Torah scroll? Any of you write a Torah or buy a Torah for yourself? Shelley's laughing. Is saying
I've,
no.
I've actually participated in when a scribe is writing one, and um, you can, you know, donate for some letters, and I've done that, and I've been
Okay.
there,
Oh, I
I
don't.
I can't touch the scribe, but if the scribe touches someone else and I touch them,
Or
and that's
you hold on to
and then
the feather or
and then
something.
they
Sounds
write
so
they
interesting.
write the letters. Yeah.
Yeah. So none of you have a Torah scroll. You're all saying, oh, some of you are saying I have a letter, I have a few letters, or I, filled in a letter or something like that, or a scribe filled in a letter for me. But no one here has a Torah scroll. Do I have a Torah scroll in my house? No.
That's so interesting. I don't know much about that.
Yeah, very interesting.
That's
So you would if it's a mitzvah to write your own Torah or to hire someone to write a Torah for you, why don't all the religious people that you know, or any of the religious people that you know, have a Torah in their house? Do you know anyone that has their own Torah?
It's hard to do.
It's hard to
no.
do, but it's a mitzvah. There's
But
a lot of mitzvahs that are really hard to do, and people do it.
it's a huge dedication when someone gives a Torah to a community like
Right,
God or
right. There's
somewhere
a
else.
huge, yeah, like they make a huge celebration out of it. They have it
Right.
like they do a whole parade with like a chuppah and everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
We haven't done that here in many years. It's time for a new one.
A Torah is a book, I think.
Torah is a scroll, the Torah scroll. So
No,
yeah, Torah today, I mean, I know like years ago, I know how much it costs. Today I've heard that it's probably about $60,000 for a new Torah scroll. Not a simple kind of cheap price, not affordable. But you don't see like wealthy people owning their own Torah scrolls. You don't see like there are rabbis who are so try to do every single mitzvah, or pious people who try to do every single mitzvah. You don't see them owning a Torah scroll. So is it something that we would neglect today? Is it something that we don't do? Is it a mitzvah that kind of fell off the bandwagon?
no,
No. So what's the answer?
I
no.
actually know a few people who have their own Torah
Oh,
scroll.
you do?
Yeah, they made it, and or they, did it, and they keep it at like the
Want
Beverly
to
Hills
sit here, Chris, so you can see?
Shul.
Right, so that's in the show, but they don't have one in their own home or anything. So there are commentaries, there are great sages, the Shulchan Aruch, which is and that says that what's accepted today is to purchase holy books. If you have, any Jewish books of learning that you can learn Torah from, that is equivalent to writing a Torah. Because the idea of writing the Torah is that you should learn Torah, you shouldn't forget it. And um, so if you have who here has Jewish holy books, who has a Chumash in their house, or a Tanakh, or a Shulchan Aruch, Torah Jewish law, any Jewish books that you have that you're going to learn Torah law from, that or Torah commentary from, that fulfills the mitzvah. But there are still opinions, including the Beis Yosef, that hold that we still need to write a Torah. Okay. You don't see that very often, and not just the price. So even if, like you say, they write a Torah and dedicate to the synagogue, like Shelley said. But so what happened? Is this an abandoned mitzvah? Because there are people who will go anything to do whatever Hashem wants. There are some pious people who, like, even if it's very difficult or even if it's very costly or takes a lot out of them, they'll try to do any mitzvah to the full extent. But we don't really see that. And not just that, I have another question. If Moshe gave this mitzvah, Hashem commanded this mitzvah when the Jews were in the desert, before they entered the land, do we see somewhere that all the Jews sat and started to write a Torah in the desert? No. There's no like no notification anywhere that all the Jews in the desert wrote a Torah before they entered the land of Israel. So what's this all about? What's the point? So if it would be, there would have been 600,000 scrolls roaming around, in circulation. But we don't see that happen. But we do see something else, and that is in text number 4. Moshe actually wrote a Torah. Let's see, text number 4. Want to do that, Andrea? Do you see it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
And Moses wrote the song on that day
And he taught it to the children of Israel.
Okay. So why didn't the people write it too? Was it too hard? Like also just think they're in the desert. Did they get enough enough parchment? Did they get enough? Did they make ink? And they would need so many for every single person to write. So very interesting question too. What happened to that? Why didn't they listen to that law right away? Here. Okay. And not just that, but what about like Shelly, Batya, Carrie, you all mentioned about these community Torahs. Like you have a show, right? And you have Torahs in the show. Is that good enough? So having a Torah is a very vital part of the Jewish community, very vital part of this show of the synagogue. So does that count as owning our Torah? So let's read text number 5, back to Shelley.
The town's inhabitants can compel one another to build a synagogue and purchase a Torah scroll, along with the other scriptures, so that anyone from the community can come and read from it.
Okay, so if we have a Torah in the show, okay, right? It's communal. Are we exempt from owning our own Torah? Well, let's read text number 6, Batya.
Mhm.
I'm going to turn around so you can see the screen too, because I don't have the ability yet. I'm glad that we didn't wait for her.
Okay.
Okay. Batya, can you read it? Are you okay to read it?
Yeah. I'm waiting for you.
Sorry. Okay. There we go.
I would suggest that when the community or any other group commissions a Torah scroll to be written on their behalf, that constitutes fulfilling the mitzvah of, and now write for yourselves. Writing the scroll and then reading from it is a legitimate form of carrying out this mitzvah. This is the clear solution in the mind to justify the long-standing tradition. By commissioning a scroll for the community, they fulfill the mitzvah.
Okay, so it seems like a good answer. That's what you guys suggested also. But in Torah, there are laws concerning communal property and private property. So would this be considered the same? Because it says write for yourself. That seems like it should be a private, a personal thing that you should own. You should write for yourself means like a personal, you should have your own. So how could the communal Torah be considered your personal Torah? So the Rebbe discusses this, and what he does is he draws a connection with another mitzvah, and that is the esrog, the lulav and esrog, the 4 kinds that we have on Sukkot. So let's read text number 7. Ms. Carrie, you can do it.
And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of the hadar tree, date palm fronds, a branch of a braided tree, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before God for a 7-day period.
See the same word for yourself, meaning you have to own your own set. Now, what's interesting is that in the old days, like in Europe, they didn't it was very hard sometimes to get an esrog. There's all these stories about, communities only having one esrog for the whole community, and how did and everyone would use it. Everyone would share the esrog. So how do they do that if it's supposed to be a personally owned esrog? So what they would do is everyone, let's say, would buy a right to that esrog, and when it was your turn to shake, everyone gave up their right to you. At that moment, when you had to shake your esrog, the esrog, you owned it. And then they'd pass it on to the next person, and everyone gave up the rights for that person to own it. So that worked over there, but doesn't work over here. So let's read text number 8. Okay, Shelley.
Our custom is for every community to make the blessing over one etrog. As every community member agrees to gift their portion of ownership in the etrog to the individual on condition that it is returned. Even if they don't explicitly stipulate as such, we consider it as if they did. After all, the entire community would certainly be of one mind to grant conditional ownership to each member so that they can make the blessing.
Okay. Some people still do this today, or we go around and let people shake on the Esrog. Let's see what Shulchan Aruch says. Text number 9. Batya.
Okay, I thought it was after Carrie.
I thought you're after Shelley and then Carrie.
Yeah, you're after me.
Okay.
Well, you can do whatever you want.
No, I just want one. The prevalent custom today in a situation where there aren't many etch,
Etrogim.
what?
Etrogim.
Etrogim, which means more than
That's wrong.
one.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
got it.
that's why it
It's just a
threw
different
me off.
accent. It's Esrog, Etrog. It just depends on your.
Okay. The Hebrew is the etrogim. Yes, okay. Available is that the community purchases one community etrog. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay. The logic is that inasmuch as the community wishes to fulfill their obligation with their etrog, etrog, it's as if they have clearly stipulated that each member conditionally grants their partial ownership to anyone who wishes to fulfill the mitzvah.
Okay. So can we use this logic for a Torah? So it's commissioned on behalf of everyone. The sofer is an agent for every individual person. Let's see. Every time the Torah scroll is taken out and the community reads from it, each member is granted their individual moment of ownership for he or she is personally reading, listening to, and studying. But by an esrog, each person has a term. With a Torah, it's a little bit different. But, maybe we could say, okay, this will work here too. We do have to have our own possession. So, yeah, so if someone gets an aliyah at the Torah or they get a turn to read from it, something like that, they have a certain amount of ownership in it. So what, but another one says over here, as far as the generation, okay. Oh, why did it? I don't know. It's not in order. But what about the people in the desert? What did they do? Did they have someone? They have a communal. So it says Moshe carried out. He wrote a Torah for them. But what's interesting is Moshe wrote a Torah for each of the tribes. Okay, he wrote 12 Torahs, one for each tribe, and he wrote a 13th Torah, and he put that was put into the Ark, the Aron Kodesh. So in a way, Moshe was representative, and he took care of writing the Torah for everybody. And not each person had their own Torah, but it was one Torah for every tribe. Let's read text number 10. Do you want to do it, Andrea?
Rabbi Hannah said, on that day Moses wrote 13 Torah scrolls, one for each tribe, and another to stow away in the holy ark.
Okay. And now let's continue. Let's see. That's number 11. Carrie, because it's your turn.
A plain reading of the verse virtually shouts that immediately after God's command to transcribe this song and teach it to his children, Moses immediately carried out, and Moses wrote this song and taught it. We clearly see that by writing 13 Torah scrolls on the day he died, Moses carried out the mitzvah of write for yourselves this song. Now, our sages derived from this verse that every individual must write a Torah scroll. However, the verse shouts at us that Moses carried it out for everyone with his own transcription.
So that's interesting. And I guess he set the tone for us that we know that we can be included in these communal Torahs.
Well, also it says
yeah.
Moses wrote 13 Torah scrolls on the day he died.
That's a really good question. Thank you, Shelley.
Yeah, we were just talking about how it, can take a year, up to
Very
a year
good question.
more.
Thank you, Shelley. So I wanted to bring that up. So yeah, so there are different opinions of what happened. Some say he wrote them slowly throughout the time of the desert, and then on the last day he finished them up. He concluded them. And some say, right, how did he write it? Otherwise, how did he write so many in one day? Yeah. So that's one of the possible answers. Or he was just superhuman and somehow able to do it. Anyway, the Rebbe made a huge campaign concerning this mitzvah in 1981. He started by saying that every Jewish child should have a letter in a Torah, and it should be a unity Torah. So this way we join together, all Jewish children all over the world, and they started to write this Torah in Jerusalem. And to date, from 1981, I should have checked it up, the exact number. Maybe I have it here. Oh, yeah. And they've written already 8 Torah scrolls just for children since 1981. So there's, so that's a lot of Torah scrolls, and they're always writing it. So if you know any children that do not yet have a letter in the children's Torah scroll, it's very easy. I'll give you the links at the end of the class, and you can look, buy them a letter. It's just $1. The Rebbe set the price; it only costs $1. And that everyone was. I remember when this came out. I remember we immediately did this. We immediately sent in our $1 and with our names and everything that we were going to write a letter in the Torah. And from that, the rabbi went on that adults, men and women, should all buy letters in Torah. So since then, like you all have experienced, many of you had said you've bought a letter, you bought a word in a Torah, or you paid a couple dollars to be part of the zechus, be part of the merit of owning a letter in the Torah scroll. So the Rebbe was very, very into it, was very strong about it. And why all of a sudden did he start this in the 1980s? And that's because, hey, we need to do everything to bring Mashiach closer, and any mitzvah we can do. So even though having Jewish books in our home, having holy books in our home fulfills a mitzvah, but to be fully, be covered from all sides, we also want to own something or want to be part of the writing of a Torah scroll. And if we can do this
out of curiosity, when you do the $1 letter for a child, do they know which letter they are buying and in what word and in what location in the Torah?
That's a really good question. So they don't know it when they're buying it, but they get a certificate.
Yes, and
a very beautiful certificate with their name, and it shows them exactly which letter or which word their letter is.
Great. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. And back then when Moshe shared this mitzvah from Hashem, right? He told the Jewish people, it was right before the Jews were leaving the desert and entering the land of Israel. It was right at that time. So the same thing now, right before Mashiach is coming, we are doing the same. We want to do the same thing, write those Torah scrolls as much as we can. And so we see, I know, like by COVID, they had these big Unity Torah scrolls. I think after October 7th, they made these Unity Torah scrolls. But anytime that you have a chance to be part of a Torah writing, if you could buy a letter, that, it's a big mitzvah, and it helps bring Mashiach come. Let us read text number 12. Up we go. 12. Okay. Back to Shelley, I think, right?
In the liturgy for the Shabbat and festival Musaf prayer, we say, I have redeemed you at the end as in the beginning. This means that the future redemption will come by carrying out the final mitzvah, to write a Torah scroll, as well as the first mitzvah, to have children.
There you go. So that's how we bring Mashiach. So the Rebbe encourages many people to buy these letters. And Torah is being written. It's the end of an era. And let's get it moving on to the next era, to the era of Mashiach. In text number 13. Yeah.
The mitzvah to write a Torah scroll is the conclusion of all 613 mitzvot. So, when all Jews will have their own personal letter in a Torah scroll, we will speedily merit the conclusion of this exile, a redemption in which every Jew will be liberated with the coming of Mashiach.
Amen. So yes, so number one is it's a great form of unity. So especially now, since October 7th, we keep talking about that, how the Jewish people have to be united, and that's the only way we're going to win, that's the only way we're going to persevere, is through our unity. Number two is there's 3 outcomes from this mitzvah that we learned tonight. So A, make sure you have Jewish holy books in your home. It's a mitzvah to always try to buy more and learn more because we want to learn from them. Number 2 is be part of a Torah writing, any Torah writing by a letter. And number 3 is just by having the Torah in the shul, and you go to shul and you hear the Torah being read, you're participating in a Torah, in the community Torah. And all of this brings unity. Another thing is every single letter, there are 304,805 letters in each Torah scroll. And They're all very critical, right? We can't, if you have one letter missing, the whole Torah is not complete. So the same thing, every single Jew is important, and without one Jew, we are not complete. So the Torah represents the Jewish people, that each individual Jewish people, and let us do says by purchasing. Okay, so importance A of the individual. At the same time, it's also importance of being part of the overall Jewish community. I'm back to Carrie.
Every mitzvah in the Torah achieves unity among the Jewish people. Still, this campaign of communal Torah scrolls achieves a superior form of unity, for it brings Jews together through the act of writing a Torah scroll and bequeathing a unique letter to each Jew, as we'll explain. But first, let's explore the idea that Torah is what possesses the power to unite the Jewish people. When a Jew is told that he or she must unite with every other Jew, from the heads of tribes to the wood hewers and water drawers, one cannot help but ask, how is this even possible? The gap between heads of tribes and wood hewers and water drawers is quite extreme. So how is it possible to unite with both a head of tribe and wood hewers and water drawers? They are polar opposites. The answer is that only the infinite Torah has the power to unite all Jewish people, from heads of tribes to the wood hewers and water drawers, despite the vast distance between them. This helps us understand just how great is the unity achieved through a tangible action. There are many other practical mitzvot that achieve the same result.
I'm worried about you. Wait for the end.
But there's a unique quality to the unity achieved through every Jew purchasing a letter in the Torah scroll, or just explained, the entire notion of unity among Jews is achieved only through the power of Torah.
Okay, thank you so much, Carrie. And Sylvia finally made it. I was really going to call the police and see what I was going to call you first and make sure you're okay. Okay, so I want to end with the story. On the screen is the links for the general Torah scroll or the children's Torah scroll. Children's Torah scroll is really easy, kidstorah.org by a letter. So in 1945, I think that'll be easier reading, or page
141.
In 1945, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, sent a rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel Levitin. It's actually, Dina Tashbuk from Shul. It's her grandfather. Grandfather? Yeah, grandfather. He sent him to Chicago from New York to try to uplift the community, bring warmth and inspiration. And before he left New York, the rabbi asked Rabbi Levitin to pay a personal visit to a man named Mr. Listener. He was a wealthy Jewish businessman in Chicago, and he came from a prestigious Hasidic family. So at the train station in Chicago, one of the local Chabad rabbis, Rabbi Yosef Weinberg, who actually taught my father when my father was in yeshiva in Chicago, was waiting to greet Rabbi Levitin. And Rabbi Levitin said, "Oh, where's Mr. Listener?" And finally, Rabbi Weinberg finally arranged a meeting for Rabbi Levitin and Mr. Listener. And they met at the office, and it was very welcoming. And Rabbi Listener was very touched that the Rebbe, sent him regards. And as they're talking, the businessman, Mr. Listener, said, "So who can I write a check out to?" Because in the old days, they all knew if a rabbi's coming to visit you, it must mean they want money. And Rabbi Levitin said, no, you don't have to write any checks. And I didn't come for that. Even if you give it to me, I'm not going to take it. And he said, well, then why did you come? Why would an elderly rabbi come and visit me all the way from New York, just to have a cold drink and have a chat with me in the office? Something doesn't make sense. And he said, let me explain to you. In the old country, there were many small Jewish communities spread all over the countryside. Each community had their own shul, a Torah scroll, and religious articles. All the Torah scrolls, mezuzahs, and tefillin were handwritten with ink and parchment paper by a scribe, and they were checked every once in a while for flaws. once in a while, right, there was a little flaw and you have to fix it. Sometimes you have to fix your mezuzah, sometimes you have to fix your Torah scroll, some, the Torah, sometimes you have to fix it to fill in, whatever it is. Um, and the smaller communities, they couldn't get enough, they didn't have like enough work for a full-time scribe. They only could have, they would have a visiting scribe, maybe they couldn't like you know, they didn't have someone to be there all the time. So it was very common that there'd be these traveling scribes, and they'd go from city to town, and if they'd come and check the mezuzahs, check the Torahs, and if something was needed to be fixing, they would fix it. So you knew every once in a while that someone's going to come by. So Rabbi Levitin says every Jew is like a living Torah scroll, and at times some of the letters of Judaism get a little rubbed off, and we lose touch with some of the mitzvahs. And all we need is for the traveling scribe to come and fill in the ink. So that's my job. I'm just coming to fill in the spiritual ink on your Torah scrolls. Give you a little dab of inspiration. Mr. Listener was very moved by this. And when Rabbi Levitin came back to New York, he shared with the Rebbe about his trip. And he explained to him what he told Rabbi Listener and Mr. Listener, I mean. And the Rebbe said, I have one correction for you. It said, the Torah is written with ink on parchment. It's two separate entities. And the ink could be erased and rubbed off, and that needs to be, fixed. But a Jew doesn't have, the Torah and a Jew, it's like engraved letters within them. They're not ink that could be rubbed off or wiped off, but it's in their heart. It's engraved in their heart, and it's impossible to ever rub off the spiritual, the Torahness of a Jew. Sometimes a little dust gets inside the crevices of the letters, and you may have to blow it away. You'll have to brush it off. And that is the job of the wandering scribe, aka the traveling rabbi. So that is, I guess you made it for the end, you made it for a beautiful thing at the end. So if anyone has not yet participated ever in it, writing in the buying a letter for a Torah, you can. It's a big important mitzvah. That's the end of our class. And I think it was a very interesting topic to end the year off, because next Wednesday is Rosh Hashanah. We won't be having class.